The RPG Maker General Podcast, or the rpgmgp. You have no chance to survive. Make your time. Welcome to the RPG Maker General Podcast, or the rpgmgp, your one-stop shop for everything RPG Maker. This is Marpix, aka Coding. With me today are Blue Sky Robin.
Hello.
And back once again, my co-star on Defeat the Darkness, Adam.
Hi there.
Hey. Got some fun news this week. Yanfly has some more tips and tricks as always. He has made a new tips and tricks called Dualcast, which mimics the Dualcast of Red Mages in several installments of Final Fantasy. His is a little bit simpler because instead of picking which two spells to cast, you merely cast the same spell twice. And he did that because not only does he feel that it's more balanced, but also letting you select the menu again after already choosing an action for someone would require its own plugin. So, hey, now you can double cast Cure with your red mages. Hooray!
Hooray.
Hooray.
He also made Combo Attack for MapleStory. So, if you have a fighting-based class, instead of just mashing attack, you can now mash attack and gain a resource called Combo, which builds up, and you can then expend it for a special attack. So, you aren't just stuck doing the same command, you now have a bit of resource management with your fighters, and not just your mages.
Kind of like the guy that suplexed a train in Final Fantasy VI, right?
Not quite. Sabin had, you just had to do the button inputs for Sabin. It would be more like Cyan, I guess, because with Cyan you had to wait to attack, and with this, you're mashing attack until you feel like you want to use one of the big abilities.
Okay, fair enough.
I think of it like initiative in Guild Wars 2, except instead of it building up naturally on its own, this builds up directly proportional to how much you're smacking the crap out of the other people. Also, PAX Weekend, any good RPG news from PAX Weekend, Adam?
Not that I know of. The only thing that I'm still waiting for, I haven't really looked though, so maybe there's more information about this, but one game that I was really looking forward to hearing about last PAX, which I got to play and it was really cool, is a game called Masquerada, which is a really kind of cool Renaissance-era fantasy RPG, which I thought looked really interesting, and they said it was going to come out sometime this year, and I haven't heard anything, so I'm wondering if we're gonna see more of that at PAX this year, or if they have any updates for us.
Yeah, they still got a couple months left in 2016. Let's hope they can get it out in time.
Here, let me look up some information on Masquerada to see if anything's changed. The full title of that is Masquerada Songs and Shadows, and it looks very, very cool, I think.
Awesome. Is it like a retro-style RPG, or is it more modern, like a Dragon Age Witcher kind of thing?
It looks like a cross between, I want to say, it looks like a mix between Dragon Age and like Transistor, with a little bit of Final Fantasy Tactics in it, because it's one of those games where you can like pause and make your moves like on the fly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay, according to their website, it's going to be available this month for PC and early 2017 for PS4. You know, and it's one of those games that got kickstarted, so I'll post a trailer in the comment section, or in our comment section, so you guys can see what I'm talking about.
It's nice to see Kickstarters actually get released.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of had that awkward honeymoon period of about 3-4 years where, are these people going to deliver? You know, Kickstarter just started out, we're handing people a bunch of money, well, I guess we'll see what happens.
Just take all the money!
And then change your name and move to another country. Why the hell not?
Mm-hmm.
So, Adam, you haven't been here for a while. This is the part of the show where if you haven't been here for a podcast but you wanted to talk about something we covered, this is when you would do it before we move on to the main subject.
Of course. I'm trying to remember all that we talked about over the last couple weeks when I haven't been here. It's been kind of crazy. I'm actually getting married next week, so I've had my hands full with trying to do that.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
So in the previous cast, we talked about heroes, villains, we talked about party dynamics, you know, like, this is something that I actually wanted you on the show for, but you've been busy, obviously, because you've probably played the most Western RPGs out of any of us, and you would be able to provide the most insight on the characters in Western RPGs are almost always the blank slate, paper doll, do whatever the hell you want. The side characters have to be interesting, dynamic, and complex.
And I would agree with that, because for most Western RPGs, even Western RPGs where the main character talks, like in the newest Dragon Age or in Mass Effect, the main character is always supposed to be a cipher for the player. And that's something you don't really get a whole lot in JRPGs. Like, the only one I can think of that's like that is Dark Souls, where really you could just kind of craft the person that you want to be, and you're supposed to sort of live and experience the world through their eyes, instead of experiencing the world through the eyes of whoever you're playing as in any JRPG. But, yeah, that actually sounds about right, where the main character is the bland one, and it's the party members that have all the really interesting things to say and the really interesting backstories.
Mm.
Yeah, I think Dark Souls follows in the Western RPG trend, too, because all the side characters are very interesting. You know?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really, really like about Dark Souls, is that, you know, the side characters are cryptic, they have double meanings, and some of them just straight up lie to you, like to your face, completely. Like, you can't really trust all the characters you meet in Dark Souls, because some of them are straight up lying.
And
So I assume he got kicked off a cliff.
Yeah, like Patches. Fuck Patches. I hate that asshole.
Patches is great. What are you talking about?
Oh, friend of mine. Good old buddy. Wait, did you say you were a cleric? Get the fuck off of my cliff. Shit. And then, of course, when you get all the way back up to the top of the cliff, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was just joking around. Asshole.
Is that when you push him off the cliff and see if he survives?
I'm sure I have.
Oh no, it was really fun. You should try it right now.
Pretty much.
God.
Yeah, because most JRPG characters, I said this during the last one too, is they're too damn anime for their own good. And because they're all trying to sell themselves just inside Japan, they all fall into these certain stereotypes that never ever get changed. So you have, like, the childhood friends, or the hot-headed protagonist who wants to go save the world. You have the little girl. You have the mean little girl if they're trying to be, you know, smart and inventive, which is just as inventive as Japan can get. You have your big, strong, sensitive guy. And if you've played a JRPG in the past, I'm gonna say, before Bravely Default, if you played an RPG between 2003 and 2013, if you've played one, you've played them all.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JRPGs really like their tropes.
I know. There are whole long lists of JRPG tropes that are all true. Like, the one that I like is, like, the grand list of JRPG tropes. There's, like, 300 things, and they're all true.
Yeah, I think I saw that list, too, when it was still just 100 things.
We're getting more granular. We've cracked the code.
Yeah.
You know,
I know, we're becoming more self-aware.
the best ways to be inventive, I think, people don't even think about sometimes. Because we watched the movie The Magic Sword a while back, and we only watched
Oh, God, yes.
because Mystery Science Theater 3000 did a special on The Magic Sword, and the thing about The Magic Sword is it is so generic and cheesy that it loops back around into being original, because, for one, the protagonist has a mother, and she's alive, and she is arguably...
But she's not really her mother. It's not really his mom. I'm your adopted foster mother.
Yeah, but... So not only does he have a living parental figure, she's very powerful and acts like a doting mother in a sitcom.
Yes, exactly. But the thing that I really thought was hilarious is that I was looking up trivia for the Magic Sword not too long ago, and one of the things that they said is that, yeah, it got riffed on Mystery Science Theater 3000, but even they admit that it's actually a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? This movie's actually okay.
You can't go out there. You're a mere child of 20.
Out of 20.
But, Mom, I'm ready to go on an adventure.
To save the woman I love that I've never met, but I've been watching her. 'Cause that's obviously what people do.
All right. Something that I wanted to bring up last time, but I totally forgot, and I'm an idiot because I forgot. when I was back in high school, I used to go on a website called Abandonia, and I looked up a lot of what they had, which was abandonware. It was games that weren't officially supported but weren't available for sale. So they were like, well, no one's selling it, so, you can download it here. They had a bunch of old-school dungeon crawlers from the early 90s, and one of them, you had 4 party members. You had a fighter, a thief, a cleric, and a mage. And you had to have 1 fighter, 1 thief, 1 cleric, 1 mage for all the stuff that was going to happen. The game gave you a choice between 3 fighters, 3 thieves, 3 clerics, 3 mages. And they all had little snippets about their personalities, and I looked it up online. They all had different stat growths and whatever. But one that really stuck out for me is one of the mages is like this chubby, young, happy, peppy, bubbly kind of girl. And she's like, oh, and I love crossword puzzles! Little do you know, because the game doesn't tell you, there is a crossword puzzle halfway through the game. And if you bring this woman with you, she solves it instantly.
Okay.
That's actually brilliant.
I know. And I love that because she seems so weird, but then she does it. And then I also forgot to bring up Valkyria Chronicles at all, which I find great because some of your party members are racist. Do you bring them along? Do you choose between the annoying sniper or the racist sniper? So most of the personality stuff in Valkyria Chronicles doesn't matter, and it boils down to personal preference.
They're generally close enough to the same, right? As far as stats go?
Yeah. Every Lancer, every Shock Trooper, they're within 5 to 10% of each other in everything. So it boils down to, you have to bring Largo because he gives you an extra command point. But then your second Lancer, do you bring Jan? Or do you bring someone else? Right, with that, we'll move on to today's advice. Back your shit up. Just do it. I don't care if you have to go old school Sega Genesis Game Genie and write down every single bit and byte on a piece of paper. Back it up.
Oh, God. I think I had a cousin who did that once. He's fucking crazy. But at least he backed his shit up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Follow your dreams. They can come true. Look to the stars. Don't do drugs. I don't know.
Robin?
Brush your drugs, do your school, and math your teeth. What?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Perfect. Now we've moved on to the meat of the subject, designing good boss fights in an RPG. As with any game, the point of a boss fight is to challenge the player and give them an exciting experience. This is where the stakes are raised, everything's on the line. It's a test to prove that you have figured out enough of the gameplay to that point to continue onward.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
After talking with everyone over the past week, there's a very fine line between a gimmick boss and a boss who happens to have a good gimmick. I'm going to open this by saying I fucking hate Chaugmar in Bravely Default.
Okay, care to explain why?
Oh! What was that, Robin?
No, go ahead, because I remember you talking about Chaugmar.
Okay. Chaugmar is a boss, I believe, at the Fire Temple. He is like a eye or a cloud or whatever. He's shut. And when he's shut, he's immune to damage, or he takes vastly reduced damage. I forgot which. But the point is, he just sits there. And then he opens up, blasts your party for probably more health than they have, and then closes again. And so the whole gimmick revolves around finding a way to survive his attack, and attacking him when he's open. The problem with him is that the game devs for the game are too damn smart for their own good. I love Final Fantasy Tactics because it's easy enough that you can beat it in any way you want. Literally any way you want. You can't get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
With Bravely Default, they have all these classes, all these abilities, and you're supposed to be able to cheese it kind of how you want, but you're shoehorned into cheesing it in certain ways. For example, Chaugmar opens on a random turn, meaning you can't predict when he will open and use something like Jump. Hell, you can't even defend properly, especially with how your agility will either be faster or slower than him, so you have to plan it for the fast and slow members of your party. Second off, his attack, I forgot if it even has an element. It'll fucking flat out kill you. like either you grind 10 levels higher than you need to, or you're dead. And I got stuck at him for a while, and then I specifically tailored all of my special attacks to be, I believe, lightning element, anti-demon, like single target for the maximum damage for these skills, and I literally named all of them Chalgmar, and my description for my profile in BD is I hate Chalgmar, because I literally just had to keep going at it until he stopped, like, instantly killing me.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and then the elemental dragons, what they do is they make you weak to their element, and then they blast you with their element. So it's very simple and on its face. Some add status effects into the mix, but the problem is that they make you weak to their element. And the only way to bring your resistance back after they've removed your resistance via ability or equipment is to use the ability Spirit Ward. So you have to use Spirit Ward basically every turn, all the time. And it's this one ability on this one class out of a dozen classes. And being shoehorned like that is not my idea of having fun.
All right.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, that reminds me of, like, I don't know, Final Fantasy III, like the original one on the NES. Oh, God. I remember when I had to fight that bird thing, Garuda or whatever. You just unlocked new job classes and you wanted to level them up a little bit. And then here's a boss. And pretty much everyone in the town, like, suggests you probably can't survive him unless you have some jumping ability. Who knows? I thought, like, nah, I probably don't need it. As it turns out, I needed it. Because, like, he's simple, he just does one thing. He attacks everyone, like, every other turn. Jumping, of course, makes it trivial to fight him. But if you weren't aware of that, your party's dead, basically.
Well, at least the townspeople tell you.
Yeah, it could be like Castlevania 2, where all of their information and advice is cryptic as shit, and you don't know what to do.
I'm not even sure, actually. 'Cause I might just be making up my memories as I go. Like, for all I know, it could have been just one guy out of, like, the 20 that lived in the town. I don't know.
But still, in Bravely Default, they don't tell you this. I didn't know Chalgmar was weak to lightning until I looked it up. I didn't know he was demon type until I looked it up.
Thanks, game.
Yeah. Like, they expect you in Bravely Default to be this super hyper power gamer, and if you're not, then you're screwed.
And he's not like a secret boss, right?
Chalgmar, no, he's required. He's required to move on with the game.
Yeah. That absolutely sucks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The dragons are optional, but grinding for Spirit Ward was still stupid.
All right.
Any other bad gimmicks you've heard of?
Well, one gimmick that I actually really sort of hate, and I know it's pretty common, and you guys will agree with me that this one's kind of annoying, but fighting a boss and then having to fight him all over again right away when he's at full health, I fucking hate that. Like, are you serious? It took me like 2 hours to kill you. Now I have to do it again? Like, just now? Oh, and you don't get healed, obviously.
Oh, so you're talking about when they just... You finally find a way to kill him, and then he uses a full heal, and then you have to just do it all over again?
No, I mean, even for, like, plot reasons where you fight and kill a boss, and then there's a short cinematic, and suddenly he taps into his inner rage or whatever, and you have to fight a slightly harder version of the boss that you just killed. Like, right away. Like, the one that I can think of right now, I know this isn't an RPG, but in Dissidia, I guess you have to fight the last boss, like, 3 times.
Oh my god.
Like, in back to back to back. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Go to hell.
I kind of recall that, yeah. But, like, I don't know, in Dissidia, in the first and second fight aren't that hard because he doesn't use the strong moves in the first 2 times. But, like, I was trying to remember something, never mind.
To bring it back to the Bravely Default FFT comparison, let's take Weegraph from Chapter 3, when Ramza has to fight him solo. the most common strategy is to equip a chameleon robe to absorb holy, and then run away and use yell and scream or whatever. But while that is effective no matter what you're running, there are still a gajillion other ways to kill him. You can change your class to ninja and backstab him twice with 2 weapons. You can be of a good Zodiac compatibility and blast him with magic. You can still wear the chameleon robe and just try and take him one-on-one. There are multiple methods for a boss like that. And I think that's the best way to design your game. And it says a lot about game design when I got stuck at that guy and restarted willingly and still had fun.
That's good.
That's how I feel about a Mark of the Ninja 2. There was a couple clunky controls, but if I'm putting up with that the whole time because I enjoy your game that damn much, you made a good game.
That's true. Speaking of boss fights, again, I know this isn't really an RPG boss, but it is a boss that, I mean, it's kind of an RPG, but in not the newest Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, but in Human Revolution, the game was really sort of open-ended on how you sort of deal with the game. Like, do you want to go in guns blazing? Do you want to be stealthy? Do you want to mix of both? Do you want to kill? Do you want to be lethal? Do you want to be non-lethal? The biggest problem with that game is that all of the bosses were fought in the exact same way, because I guess that the development team for Deus Ex kind of gave the job of programming the bosses to a different company, and they basically made all the bosses bullet sponges.
Yep.
And it was really sort of telling, because the first time I got to the first boss in Deus Ex, I did the pre-order, and one of the things that I got for the pre-order was like C4 plastic explosives I could just throw in front of me and they'd blow up. And I kind of figured that, I could throw these at the boss and it would hurt the boss a lot, and then I could just, fight the boss normally. I had like 3 of those. I threw all 3 of them at the boss, and literally, as soon as I hit the detonate button, there wasn't even an explosion. It just played the next cinematic. I am dead serious. It literally just played the next cinematic of him, like, on the ground bleeding. Like, there wasn't an explosion or anything. Like, it killed him so fast that it just skipped the fight. And I'm like, oh, that's not good.
I slapped you so hard you went past the loading screen.
The power of DLC, people. Jeez. And if you thought that was bad, the second to last boss, jeez.
Oh yeah, him. I know.
I'm gonna hop this fence. Oops, I'm dead.
Yeah, the guy who's basically just a head on a big, meaty, muscly skeleton.
Yep. I'm gonna jump this fence. Oops, I walked into your fist. Now I'm dead.
Thanks, game.
I wish there was more developers that tried to do the alternate methods, because the only one I can think of off the top of my head is the one we've already covered 1,000 times, Undertale. Each of those bosses has their own good gimmick, and it's not just the mercy gimmick, but also the combat, because even the individual enemies themselves have their own variety of bullet hell for you to get through.
Actually, I think in the director's cut they fixed it a little bit. Because you still had to fight the bosses, but now there were like different rooms where you could hack the thing and then you kill them indirectly or something. I don't know. Yeah,
the director's cut, when they came out with that, they patched the bosses so some of them could be taken down non-lethally. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I just remembered what I forgot. You said like a boss that like is super hard and then he's dead and then revived at full health. Oh jeez. I just remembered like a million years ago, I mentioned the RPG Maker collaboration project, right? It's still ongoing, but I'm not responsible. Wink. Anyway, like there was this one set of bosses. It was the worst ever. The setup for this boss is like you fought this one strong guy and this other strong guy. Like, in separate occasions. There were, like, 3 strong guys total. So you fight them on separate occasions. And so the door opens. You go through the door, now all 3 of them fight you. Right? They were, like, kind of tough on their own, so now all 3 of them are fighting at the same time. When you beat one, he like, gives his power up to the other 2. When you beat the second guy, the third guy gets super powered up, and he's extremely hard to beat. It doesn't matter what order you kill them in, The last guy will be the very strongest and fully heals himself. And he's like, oh, God. It's horrendous, man. It's like, I only cheesed out the first two guys because, like, I like used the counter technique where the one guy with counter attacks absorbs all the physical attacks. But nope, apparently it's just the last guy. It's just, oops, mixed physical and magic attack and non-elemental shit. And bye, you're dead. Like, oh, fuck that. I can't believe that the bosses that were later in that chapter were weaker than those three.
Yeah, you want to talk about... I got another really annoying, irritating boss that drives me nuts. I think, because, I've already talked about how much I like Dark Souls and how much I like, Demon Souls and that kind of thing.
Yep.
For a long time, I really wanted to like Bloodborne, and I do like Bloodborne, but for the longest time, the third boss drove me nuts. And I was talking to Cody, I was talking to our mutual friend Mads about it, and he's not the hardest boss in the game, but he's really, really annoying. Because halfway through the fight, he basically has an effect where if you stand close to him, you start to build up poison.
Bloodstorm. Okay.
Yeah,
I was wondering what the third boss was.
I fucking hate that son of a bitch, I swear to God. I was literally stuck on that boss for 6 months.
Jeez.
Like, after a week of trying to beat him, when I first got the game, I just fucking gave up. And then finally I did it. I'm like, yay, I can actually play the rest of Bloodborne now! Thank fucking Lord!
Oh, man. I had that problem with Parl because his space is too good.
Yeah.
Like, he's just far enough for you to not hit him, but close enough so he can hit you.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Oh, God.
It's like they make those games to be purposefully impossible or something. Why is that?
But
What the hell, FromSoft? Why are your games so hard?
It feels so good when you beat them, though.
I know. I remember when I got Dark Souls 3. I can't remember which boss it was. I think it was like the first or second boss where I beat them on my first try. And I basically felt like the grand champion of the universe. Like, I beat this boss on my first try. Worship me!
Oh, God.
At least with those bosses, though, they give a sense of satisfaction when you beat them.
I think we should start talking about good bosses.
Yeah. This is called a segue.
Okay.
At least with those bosses, though, you felt like king of the world when you beat them because they gave you a challenge and you overcame it. It wasn't one of those, oh, thank God, finally, and then, you become disenchanted with the game. You become more motivated because you were given a situation, it was fair, it was on its face, and you devised a solution on your own.
Well, I think that for at least for me, for that boss in Bloodborne, it was a little bit of both. Like, yay, I'm awesome now, I finally beat the boss, but on the other hand, it was like, oh my God, it's finally over.
I think that tends to happen with those games.
Yeah.
On that note, I'm going to bring up Lunar, the Silver Star story again. There's a part where you're in the sewer and you're fighting a dragon, and the battles are mildly tactical. You can move people along the grid, and what you're supposed to do with this dragon, it's poking out of the water. You can't hit it with close range attacks, so Alex is basically useless. So what you can do is you use the defend command, which is also your move, and you move him away, because if anyone is too close to the dragon, he has like a big flame ability that hits like a ton of bricks, and because Alex isn't doing anything anyway, you just move his bitch ass to the back and have him use sword skills. And then Luna and Ramus, I believe, is your friend. They just both use crossbows and just pick at him from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
That one, you're invited to come up with your own solution. Either you let Alex take all the damage up front, or you move him to the back and you just have your other two characters take pot shots at the sewer dragon.
And this is a problem how?
No, we're talking about good bosses, Robin.
Oh, this is a good boss. Okay.
Yeah. Another good boss I like is in Final Fantasy Legend 3. After a long quest across time and space and whatever, you find effectively God. And God is holding Cthulhu inside of him. And God says, please kill me. For the love of God, kill me so this thing inside me will die. And you have, I think, between 5 and 10 turns to try and kill him, and he does nothing the entire time. He's just sitting there waiting for you to kill him. And if you manage to do the gajillion HP and damage that you need before Zagor comes out, he dies, and the battle is over. But if you fail, then out comes Cthulhu, and you have to do the actual final boss.
Alright, that's fair, I guess. Like, I remember a boss fight like that once, and it's like... But it wasn't that fair, because, like, if you didn't beat this one boss in 4 turns, well, he blows up and you die. Party's dead. Bye. I mean, like, from a lore standpoint, that makes sense, but it's still kind of bullshit.
Yeah, the story should never get in the way of the gameplay.
At least the game warns you when like, oh no, it's counting down. And there really was a sense of urgency.
The timed battles I'm really flip-floppy on because on one hand they are a decent challenge, and when they're telegraphed well, they seem fair. But sometimes, you know, especially if they're too hard, they can be very frustrating. And I brought up in the chat earlier, Breath of Death 7. There's a boss where you fight him, and I think around turn 8 he uses a full heal. Now normally that'd be kind of upsetting, but the thing about Breath of Death is in every single encounter the enemies get 10% stronger every round. So if you failed to kill him in the first 8 turns, he is now doing 80% more damage than he was when you first fought him. And he's doing 90, and then double, and so on. So basically, the game doesn't tell you this, but you kind of figure it out on your own. You have 8 turns to kill this motherfucker. If you didn't kill him in those first 8, there's no way in hell you're doing it the next 8.
Does he cast it again at turn 16?
I can only assume.
Oh god. At least it's not like in Pokemon where like, haha, your Pokemon's almost dead. Nope, full restore.
Yeah.
If we're talking about good bosses, I actually have 2 good bosses that I want to talk about, and one of them is from an RPG, so that actually fits.
The floor is yours.
Alright. So, anybody who has ever heard me on these podcasts know that I am a huge, absolutely huge Metal Gear fan. And obviously, Metal Gear has some of the best boss fights of all time. But the one I'm talking about specifically is the end from Metal Gear Solid 3.
My man.
Because it is completely off the wall and bananas. Like, apparently, when it was originally designed and conceived, the legendary Hideo Kojima decided that the battle was going to take place over a whole week in-game. Like, you would actually have to track him down over a couple days and, you know, try and find him. I'm glad that they didn't do it that way because that would be impossible to program and actually play. But I'm really, really glad that we have the boss fight at all, where it's, you know, you really have to watch your surroundings. You really, really have to try and figure out where he is, you know, look for footprints and that kind of thing. Or you could just do what I do sometimes and just run around until I get shot in the face with a tranquilizer dart and go, ah, he must be over there. I found him after I pulled a syringe out of my eye.
Oh, God.
But the other boss fight, and this is actually a fairly recent boss fight as far as video games go, but he's not quite the last boss, but one of the last bosses in Dragon's Dogma, where you actually fight, you know, the dragon from the beginning of the game, where you get to fight him on his own terms. That fight is really, really great. Because it's like a 3-part boss fight. The first part where he's flying through the air and you have to chase him, and you're basically chasing him over these sort of collapsing towers, and you kind of have to jump from one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then when you get to the last one, you have to jump on him. And you start at his tail, and he's huge. You have to climb all the way up to his chest, where his heart is, where his weak spot is. I had already played Skyrim to death, so I thought I knew what I was getting into with these dragons, but the dragon from Dragon's Dogma is like 3 times the size of the dragons from Skyrim. He is ginormous. And you start at his tail, and as soon as you latch onto his tail in a cinematic, it starts you off, he's flying as fast as he can go, and you're at his tail, and you have to climb up it, and God help you if you let go. But I remember the first time I did that fight, I was just like, oh my God, we're going so fast! It's like Shadow of the Colossus on crack. And then finally, when you get to his weak spot into his heart and you bring him down to the ground, then you have the more traditional fight where you have to, run around, avoid his fire, and actually try to attack his chest some more. And, like I said, he's huge, so he's really intimidating. He's just a greatly designed boss, but, Anyway, that's what I think. As far as, good, well-designed bosses that are fun to play, that's just what I think.
That's super cool. I like it when they implement the mechanics that well, because like with the end, you can use basically any tool in Snake's arsenal to figure out where the end is. You can look for the glint of his scope, you can hear his parrot, you can look at the footsteps, you can wait him out.
Yeah, wait him out is totally a valid option.
Or you can cheat.
Let me just save my game and then come back to it like 2 weeks later.
Exactly.
Oh, he's dead? Okay.
Or you can
come back to it 2 weeks later. You could just mess with your PlayStation's internal clock and just set it 2 weeks ahead.
Yeah. Hell, you can kill him before the battle starts if you see him in the wheelchair, like a couple hours beforehand.
Yeah.
I really like when Nintendo started doing the Mario and Luigi series, like with Superstar Saga. They really innovated the turn-based battle system in a good way. Like, you have flames as a jump rope, and because Mario and Luigi are in separate spots on the screen, you have to time their jumps separately to avoid the fire, as opposed to the slightly older Super Mario RPG timed hits, press the button to block sort of thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Paper Mario did it one better with the mini games, and Thousand Year Door up until the very end was a fantastic game, and I can't recommend it enough.
Especially the last boss fight where you could basically just say, "No, I want to be evil." Anyway, I posted a video of the actual boss fight from Dragon's Dogma I was talking about. It's 30 minutes. It's a long fight. It does not mess around.
God, I don't know how you keep a boss battle exciting for 30 minutes, but
they do. They really do. It's nuts, and I love it.
Freaking Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. I have a love-hate relationship with that game because up until the end, I loved the game. I had a lot of fun playing it. But if you ever do the Pit of 100 Trials, save yourself the trouble and don't. If you really absolutely feel the need to complete the Pit of 100 Trials, don't. Go learn how to crochet, learn guitar, go on a nice walk outside in the sun. Call your ex-girlfriend. And that'd be more fun than fighting
Do your taxes.
Oh God.
Yeah, Bonetail. I read this on Game FAQs, and the people there are kids. The people that write these guides. One guy was like, "Guys, okay, real talk. Bonetail's like the hardest boss in the game. You can't fight him unless you're like level 35. I was level 28 because I was so damn good at the mini games. This is what happened. I buffed, I attacked, and then I healed. The buff wore off. I had to buff again, and then I attacked, and then I healed, and then the buff wore off. I had to buff again, and sometimes after the buffing, I got to attack twice before I had to heal." And that was Bonetail. This was Bonetail after going through the Pit of 100 Trials, which is no bullshit, a 2 or 3 hour dungeon. Ugh! And I got that far to buff, attack, heal, buff, attack, heal, buff, attack, heal, you're dead, good game. So no. Please, do yourself a favor. Don't fight Bonetail. Don't do the pit. You're only gonna cause yourself heartache.
Good to know. Well, I'm guessing that the reward for doing so probably wasn't worth it either then.
I forgot what the reward was.
So probably not.
The best reward there ever is. I forgot.
You think I would remember, no matter what it was, you think I would remember, like, it had to have been something so stupid that I would be mad, or something so great I would remember, but no.
You got a high potion. Congratulations.
So I'm looking at what we have next on the list, and I'm guessing we already talked about poorly designed bosses. Do we want to talk about story bosses, or just like disappointing bosses in general? Or I'm just looking at our list here, you know, because somebody has to.
Wild Arms 4 has some good bosses. There's this rival character, all right? There's this rival boss or something, because he keeps showing up later on. But like the first time you fight him, he's like, okay, he's not too bad the first time you fight him. And then, like Adam said, he gets mad, he uses his special power, and you have to fight him again. So the second time you fight him, he shows off his special ability, which is he does 2 turns in a row. Okay? That's not too bad because he's still doable at that level. But remember when I said you meet him again and again later on? He gets more turns the more times you fight him.
Oh, fuck.
The final fight with him, he has like 5 turns in a row each time.
Wow.
And he's like really, really dangerous. But he's not like super strong, but he's like really risky to fight. But by then, your guys are also pretty good at like keeping yourselves alive, doing damage. It's pretty nice, actually.
So it's well balanced. He can go 5 times, but unless he attacks the same person 5 times in a row, you're generally going to be okay.
More or less. I guess like the danger about that one is his unpredictability. But like by then you already know like okay, he's pretty hard when he gets a lot of turns. I probably should be careful with this guy.
That's cool.
And then, like, I guess I mentioned some of the other bosses from previous podcasts. Like, I mentioned there was basically Dio in the game. There's this one boss where his power is time stop, all right? So if you try to attack him, he will stop time, move to a different space, and then you will miss.
Goldo!
Oh,
I thought I was the most useless member of the Ginyu Force.
Oh god. But like yeah, like the way to beat him is like you have to corner him so he can't change his space. Because he can't move into spaces that you occupy. So your party has to surround him and then beat him that way.
He can teleport, but he has very deep personal space issues, and so if you're too close to him, he can't teleport onto you.
Like yeah, he has a teleport, but he doesn't use it a lot at all. Like throughout the whole fight, he maybe teleports like once or twice, maybe 3 times if you're not dealing a lot of damage. But like he doesn't teleport a lot, and he's easy to corner again anyway.
Okay, I like bosses that are fair like that. Along those lines, I think one of the best designed bosses, because we have to be positive at some point, one of the best designed bosses in an RPG, I think, is Safer Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. I say that for a number of reasons. One, if you used Knights of the Round in the previous section of the boss fight, he gets harder. If your characters are level 99, he gets way harder. And it's funny, too, because the game only keeps track of whether or not they're level 99, not level 98. Because they know that if you're at level 98, you're gonna fucking level to 99. You're already committed. They don't need to check for anything beneath that. The other thing is, Safer Sephiroth generally cannot kill the entire party at once. Supernova will do a specific fraction of your HP that brings you down. He can use an ability that brings someone's HP down to 1, but he cannot TPK your party. And that, I think, makes him fair no matter what level you are. And if you don't know that he's incapable, then you're always excited. You're always in the moment and wondering what's going to happen next.
Yeah, there are some Final Fantasy fights that are like that. I remember in FF9 there was Beatrix. And yeah, most of her moves are like nearly kill you, but not really, because she's a quote unquote good person.
Yeah.
Well, halfway through, she actually is a good person. So yeah, she redeems herself, sort of.
Yeah. I'd say it's a spoiler alert, but the game is 15 years old. It's your own fault. So I'm trying to think what other good bosses there are, and for some reason I just keep thinking of bad ones for some reason, because those are the ones that stick out in my mind more.
Oh yeah, like I've got my list here, and my list of hate is much longer than my list of like, because the ones you like it's when something works, it's just part of the environment and you move on with it. But if someone writes on a blackboard that 1 times 8 is 7, you just remember it forever.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah. Another cool one I thought of was, again from Final Fantasy Tactics, when you fight Elmdor, when he has his assassins with him. Elmdor at that point is super overpowered. Like, he can teleport, he has Blade Grasp, which basically negates physical attacks. But he is also wearing a unique set of equipment. So, if you're tenacious, if you try really hard, you can whip the shit out of Elmdor and go on with your game. But if you really want his equipment, like the Genji Gauntlet, which is unique, I think the Masamune is either unique or really hard to get.
Oh, Genji stuff, yeah. I remember having a hard time with that one.
Yeah, but
because I'm a completionist of sorts, so I needed that stuff on my guys.
The best part is, you're putting yourself through the frustration. That's all entirely optional. You don't need the Genji equipment. You can end your suffering any time. But if you want it, then you're going to have to come get it.
Oh, man. And did I come get it all right? Oh, boy.
Another one of my favorite fights. So this is probably one of my favorite fights. Along with fighting God in FFL 3. That's a great story fight, but this one, the Axum Rangers from Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Axum Rangers. They have so much personality. They're great. I love it.
Yeah.
And then after you beat them all individually and they say their cute little line, they have their own design, their own weapons, like some are skinny, some are fat. The black one has shades. And then they go to the little robot thing, and they're charging their death beam. And this is the scariest fucking thing you've ever seen, because you're fighting on their ship, the Halberd. It's dangerous. There's so much at stake, you just fought a boss, and you have to go fight these guys, and the whole setup to that fight is great, and the characters themselves are great. It's one of the best moments in RPG history, I think.
Yeah. Well, I just remembered 2 more good bosses that are both good for completely opposite reasons. One is good from a gameplay and a story perspective. The other one is just a really memorable, hilarious fight that just, once you've done it once, it will never be rid of you. The first one, the one that's actually like a really good designed fight, because it is, again, we're going back to Metal Gear Solid, the franchise. And my favorite game in the franchise is Metal Gear Solid 4, mostly because for the first time, you finally get to control a Metal Gear. And it completely changes up. Like, that section of the game is completely different from the rest of the game. And of course, after going through and doing all this awesome stuff as a Metal Gear, you fight another Metal Gear. And, I guess it's decently designed where it's fun, but it doesn't really stand out from that. But what does stand out is the fact that you're fucking driving a Metal Gear! And it's so awesome! And it has all these really cool contextual moves that you can do against the other Metal Gear you're fighting. Like, you could push them into a wall, you could grab him with your mouth, and then shoot your chin laser at him and cut him that way. And, love it. So good. And the other boss fight that's just kind of a hilarious boss fight is Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. The Great Mighty Pooh. Once you've played it once, it will never leave you. Because it's just so... Like, it's a reminder to me that you can get away with a lot of stuff in a boss fight, or even in a game in general, if you're funny enough. Like, if you're just silly and goofy enough, you can get away with a boss fight that's maybe not necessarily the best design. But damn it, it was so stupid and hilarious. I can't help but love it.
So is the whole thing you're fighting the Great Mighty Pooh, or does he have like lines and other stuff that he does?
He
Like,
sings
Well,
while
basically,
fighting.
yeah, basically what it is that
He's an opera singer.
yeah, he's an opera singer, and during the fight, he'll break up the fight with the cinematic about how he's going to defeat you, and then when he goes around, he'll attack you, and do that kind of thing. But how you beat him is that he'll stop and he'll start to sing, and when he opens his mouth, you have to throw TP into his mouth.
toilet paper?
Yeah,
Yep.
and you do that a couple times, and then he gets flushed. Like, have you seriously have never seen this boss, Cody?
I
'Cause I have to remedy this immediately.
Oh my god.
I'm sending you a video. I hope.
Oh no.
Oh yes. If he's never seen it, then he has to see it because it is so worth
I
it.
guess that's fair, but
An unforgettable classic, The Great Mighty Pooh.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
oh
And it's
god.
worth it though.
A boss that really sticks with you.
He clings on to you and never lets go.
Oh my god. You kind of have to
That's
wiggle
not-
a bit.
Did I mention that he has corn for teeth?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Props to Rare for always going the extra mile. Because you could have just
Yeah.
had a Pooh boss.
But no, they had an opera poo boss. So yeah, that's all I got for good bosses. I got a couple more bad bosses I could talk about when we get to that point, but that's all I got.
Alright. This one blends story and gameplay in a way that I absolutely despise. And it's the reason I never beat Final Fantasy Legend 1. It's Suzaku in, the last area. Now, here's Suzaku. It's an invincible phoenix-like dragon bird kind of thing. And as long as you're on the overworld, he harasses you. You can fight him and defeat him all you want, but he keeps coming back. And the whole gimmick of this last area is to avoid him, devise a way to kill him, and then finally kill him dead for real. And much to the game's credit, they mercifully put the first town near the entrance. So you run into Suzaku, you kill him, you go, oh shit, you can't kill him. Then you go into the town, you hear about how everyone hates dealing with Suzaku. They give you a bike so you can run away from Suzaku faster. Then you learn about the subway tunnels, so you just go under the world where he can't go, because remember, he's a bird, he doesn't go into tunnels.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to go on this 2 or 3 hour long quest to devise a way. I think you have to go to a power plant and bring down a force field, and then you can finally kill him for real. But I didn't go beyond that.
Wait, Cody, 2 or 3 hours? Are you shitting me right now?
Dude, it's the whole world's gimmick, is the second you step onto this one area out of the 4 major areas in the game is a quest to avoid the fuck out of Suzaku until you can kill him.
Wow.
2 or 3 hours.
I was 12 at the time, someone's probably done it faster, but if you're going in with no context and no idea what to do, it's gonna take 2 hours.
That sounds pretty bad. Oh god.
Yeah,
See, when the end takes 2 or 3 hours to beat, it's cool, but this boss kind of sounds lame.
Doing something against him.
Yeah.
I shot him. I'm actually doing something.
Yeah.
It's not like that. We're I killed him. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No. If this were a horror game, yeah, sure, I would want to avoid him. That'd be part of the gameplay, but I spent the previous 10 hours killing things. This isn't fun, this is annoying. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
As I recall, though, there are some games that have you do different things, like Final Fantasy, the one with Cecil.
Final Fantasy
That's
4.
four.
Remember the Paladin test?
Yeah, I actually thought that was really cool. And the first time I did it, I got my ass whooped because I didn't know what it was doing. And then I finally figured it out and went, oh, I get it now.
Yeah. Because, for the Paladin test, there's this boss fight. And it's basically Cecil versus Dark Cecil.
Yeah.
Right? 'Cause up to that point, Cecil was following the Dark Knight path. And, maybe this path isn't the right one to do everything with. So his Paladin test is he gets the Paladin job, and he has to fight Dark Knight Cecil, right?
Yeah.
And Dark Knight Cecil is super strong and super powerful. If you've been doing what you've been doing the whole time, like
He's just trying to fight him.
which is strike him down, he counterattacks very strongly.
And immediately.
Yeah. But the thing about Paladin is you see a new command. It's like guard or something, guard or counter. Or, I forgot what it was. Yeah. Basically, it was a defensive thing, and you never had that as a Dark Knight. But it's a new option as a Paladin. If you keep doing that, Dark Knight Cecil like defeats himself.
Yeah, basically it's the test is that a Paladin, like a Jedi, shouldn't have anger. So you're supposed to like not try and fight him, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then he'll say, "Oh, you passed the test." I'm like, "That's actually kind of clever." I think.
Yeah, because a Paladin's first thought should not be the violence.
For one fight.
Yeah.
You only had to do it for one fight, so feel free to kill all these monsters outside.
Yes.
Yeah, because the Paladin's first thought should not be violence.
Exactly. It's not very Jedi.
No, and from a gameplay perspective, that's cool, and they only force you to do it for that one fight for like a minute, and you go,
okay, story reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's not my favorite, but it's okay.
Yeah. Like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, a nuke goes off, and you're only allowed to crawl for about a minute or two before you die, and that's an acceptable break from the gameplay to tell the story. You take like a minute or two, you crawl around in some twisted burning wreckage for a while.
And you die.
Yeah.
And then the game starts.
Pretty much.
On that note...
go ahead.
I simultaneously both like and loathe Shin Megami Tensei because it's a little bit smarter than Bravely Default, which makes it both better and worse. So they shoehorn you into a fight, but they also don't waste your time. There's an optional boss in Digital Devil Saga called the Demi-Fiend, and he's optional because he's one of those ones that's supposed to test your skill. And if you go in with specific resistances, or I think any resistances at all, he immediately uses an ability called Gaia Rage and kills your entire party.
Wow.
Just no bones about it. Like, you need to go into this fight weak to fire or sleep or whatever, and if you don't, then you're dead.
Well, that's odd. It's like, hey, you better have this one specific weakness, otherwise I'll kill you.
How do people find out about that in like a reasonable amount of time?
God, I don't even know. I just saw it on YouTube forever ago, and then I went, man, that's kind of unfair. And then I realized he's an optional boss, and went,
Yeah.
It's kind of in the Bravely Default camp where it was in a time where people could look it up on the internet. And
at least it kills you fast. Like not like those dragons you mentioned that just take forever.
Yeah. Basically, it'll tell you mess up right away instead of wasting your time.
Yeah. And it allows you to experiment, try again. Because as much shit as we're giving these games, nothing will ever match the morbid complexity of, like, the old Wizardry games, or, like Tower of Druaga for the arcade, where you don't even know how you're supposed to win.
Just figure it out, idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have known that secret jet boot was just behind the wall.
Because, like, Wizardry played it half RPG, half old-school adventure game. And I believe it was Wizardry 4. You start in a room that's completely dark. Like, that's all you get. And the only way to leave is to have one of your cleric minions cast light. Now, if you didn't bring a cleric with you and you just got a bunch of, like, more combat-oriented units, you've lost the game before you've even begun.
It's usually how it goes. Speaking of OP stuff, and this kind of leads into another boss fight that I have a problem with, is that one of my early favorite JRPGs was Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. And, because it was different, and it was a Lord of the Rings game, and this was back when, the Lord of the Rings movies were still really, really big deals. A little time has passed since then, so it's not quite as major as it used to be.
Yeah.
But one of your party members in that game is Idriel, and Idriel basically has the most OP move I have ever seen, probably in any game. It's called Aura of the Valar, and what it is that it's a status effect that you can cast on any of your party members, and when they die, they get raised back up immediately with full health, full magic, and it's their turn. And later in the game, you get a thing that basically allows you to cast 2 spells in one turn. And you only have 3 people in your party. So basically, you can cast that twice, and as soon as you start casting that stuff, because of course you can cast it on Idriel herself, so naturally, when you just start casting that shit, you've already won. You literally cannot lose. It is impossible. And it is so completely fucking broken. It's hilarious.
As you know, Lord of the Rings isn't exactly known for balance.
Yeah, it's really not.
Have you seen the Balrog?
Yeah. And trust me, he's fucking easy in the game, too.
Fucking Gandalf's like, run away, everyone. I'm level 20. I'll solo this bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other funny thing about the Third Age, is that your cast of characters that you're playing as, I mean, some of them are cool, I guess, but basically you're relegated to being the groupies of the ring. Like, during the fight with the Balrog, you're on the bridge, you're with Gandalf, and of course, nobody sees that you're there. Like, Gandalf's fighting this by himself. Hello, we're right here. Nope, he's fighting it by himself. But, it basically has to be an alternate universe or something, because some stuff makes no sense. Like the last boss.
That's what you get for having Gimli write down all the adventure notes.
Yeah.
The last boss for Third Age, wasn't it like they felt they had to shoehorn the Eye of Mordor in there somewhere?
Yes. Exactly. That's exactly what happens. You fight the Eye of Sauron. Like, you are on top of the tower, and you are smacking it with your sword. Like, what the hell? It doesn't even explain how you got up there. On 1 second, we were at Minas Tirith, and we just won the Battle of Pelennor Fields, and literally one cinematic, and then a scene transition, and you're on top of the fucking Tower of Mordor fighting the Eye. So, this is wrong on 2 accounts. One, it's really fucking stupid, because how did you get up there? How are you planning on leaving? Because when you beat the boss, it just shows the scene in the movie where the tower crumbles. I'm like, did we die? Did we make it? But the other thing that I hate about it is that it's so stupid, it implies that Frodo and Sam's quest to destroy the ring is pointless. We didn't need to destroy the ring because I just killed Sauron right now.
Well, what makes for an epic ending? Beating the Eye of Sauron or winning the Battle of Pelennor Fields?
Well, I'm just saying is that we already had a cool boss fight at that part of the game against the Witch King. You know, fighting alongside Eowyn and fighting the Witch King. You know, that's cool. But apparently, I'm guessing there had to be some sort of corporate meddling to say where we had to fight Sauron. Because it makes no sense. It feels stacked on. And the ending of the game is literally Gandalf telling you, like, the war for the ring is over, but your adventures are just beginning. Like, so what happened to all the characters I've been playing as for the last 15 hours? Gandalf? Don't walk away from me, Gandalf. What happened? What happened, Gandalf? Get back here!
And then he got on a boat and left.
Pretty much. Like, it's so stupid that I'm convinced that it's basically a fever dream that one of the characters is having, because it's so fucking stupid. Like, basically, after the Witch King fight, none of this actually happens. This is all a dream. This is all, like, some sort of, you know, high vision that someone's getting. But the only thing worse than having a bad boss fight is having no boss fight at all. Which leads me to my second point that I was going to make. Recently, everybody loves Shadows of Mordor. Like, did you guys ever play it?
Oh.
The newish Lord of the Rings game?
Is that the one where, like, if an orc kills you, he gets promoted and now it's personal?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And everyone's saying, like, oh, it's the best game that came out that year.
A long time.
Yeah, and you know what? I played through it. It was, like, the first 95% of it was okay. Like, the boss fights were cool, and, you know, fighting these orcs and basically getting other orcs promoted that work for you. That was all good and fun.
Mm-hmm.
but the ending of the game is supposed to be a boss fight. It doesn't actually happen. It is basically a 2-button QuickTime event, and the game's over. Like, the ending is completely rushed. Because it gears up that, yeah, you got all your orcs that you've recruited throughout this entire point of the game, and you're going to go fight who is it, like the Hand of Sauron or whatever, and you're going to have an epic fight with him. But no, it's a 2-button thing, and that's it. And the game's over. Like, what the fuck? What? There is no fight.
This game turned into the Order 1886 pretty fast.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
God.
Except the Order 1886 is like that, but the whole game.
Yeah. You can complete it in time to get a refund.
Yeah, and you bet I traded it in when I was done. Are you shitting me? I basically have no reason to play this game again.
Man, that reminds me of when we did the pawn shop roulette night for movies, and I got the movie Detonator. We had a movie night, and we just grabbed random shit off a shelf that was cheap, and then whoever had the best got a prize, whoever had the worst movie got a prize. And I ended up with a movie Detonator, which was Pierce Brosnan in it before his James Bond days. And, like, there's a bomb, like, on a train or something, and he's fighting dudes. There's a bunch of, like, old generals, like, doing stuff and whatever. It's supposed to be this tense, action-packed thrill ride. He finally gets to the bomb. It was never going to go off anyway.
Oh.
That's the point of the movie, like, the bomb never goes off. He never has to defuse it. It was never going to go off anyway. Like, how the hell do you end a movie on this?
Cool. Amazing. Perfect. Oh, God. That reminds me of something stupid I heard about JoJo. Fucking... Alright. So this one character joins a race across America, alright? And the reason he does that is because there's this kid, and this kid was, like, gonna be arrested or something. And he was gonna do this race and get him unarrested, right?
Yeah.
And because he's the hero, of course he does it. And so, but like at the very last panel, it's the kid, and he's smiling and happy that he's free. And then there's just this one text box like in the corner that it just reads, and then he died of a cold. Basically nullifying everything that he's done.
Oh my god.
So, like, why do writers do this?
Well, we didn't plan on having him alive for the next scene, I'm sorry.
Like, fuck. No, he didn't have to be alive for the next scene. He didn't have to be... he just didn't have to die right away.
It was an important life lesson, that life is futile and nothing you do matters.
Motherfucking... Bullshit.
I took a large sampling from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for that, I assume.
Oh, motherfucker. It's like, okay, everything I've worked hard for nothing.
Sounds like I just missed something quote-unquote good.
Go ahead and tell him, Robin.
Well, you don't have to say it all over again just because I'm here. I'll watch the podcast.
We were just talking about how there's some weird writing inconsistencies that can make everything the main character works for equal nothing.
What game is this?
Oh, motherfucker. Like, Cody was talking about Detonator.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and how at the end of the movie, the bomb was never going to go off anyway, so Pierce Brosnan's entire quest was in vain.
You know what other movie does that? Raiders of the Lost Ark. Really. Like, this is something... I don't like Big Bang Theory, but this is something that they totally hit right on the head of Big Bang Theory, where if Indiana Jones did nothing, the Nazis would have opened the Ark and they all would have died.
That's true, because they opened it anyway, and then they died.
Yes.
God. We're segueing into movies, but I've got one more before we wrap this cast up.
Okay.
Kubo. Sure.
How is it?
Okay, so...
I haven't seen it.
I go to movies not only to be entertained, but also I like movies that are smart. I like movies that, take their own logic seriously. And
right.
Kubo is a very pretty film. Its characters are emotionally engaging. The world and the atmosphere are top-notch. The plot is garbo.
Okay.
Absolute garbo. So Kubo has to go collect these 3 treasures to give him the strength to defeat, the big bad or whatever. He doesn't need any of them. Straight up. And one that he receives does nothing. Like, it's a helmet, okay? The helmet is one of the treasures. He gets the helmet, he puts it on. The boss instantly removes it. There was no point in having it. And it's stuff like that really retracts my flaps, alright? So, if you don't care about the logic of the story and just enjoy the story for what it is, you're gonna enjoy Kubo. But other than that, just it's not fucking Citizen Kane, alright?
Basically, just take it with a grain of salt, pretty much.
So Kubo's basically Link.
Sure, yeah.
Except he talks.
You know what? Take some LSD before you go to Kubo, and you won't care about the plot. Alright. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, that's all I got. I talked about what I wanted to talk about.
We talked about bosses a lot.
Yeah, I feel like that was the theme of the episode or something.
Yeah, alright. On that... What?
Stop interrupting him!
Fuck!
No, my sleepiness is getting to me now. End the podcast. End it.
On that note, thank you all for listening to the RPG Maker General Podcast of the rpgmg. This is Cody signing off.
This is Adam signing off.
Blue Sky Robin's going to sleep now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.